2023 Bluegrass release. We've got 4 of your favourite Sadler's Creek wines, all from our Bluegrass range. We've got Sparkling Cabernet, Straight Shiraz, the blend of the Cabernet and Shiraz, and the one wine that you really all keep coming back for year in, year out, the Bluegrass Cabernet Sauvignon. To start with, we've got our 2023 Bluegrass Sparkling Cabernet.
It's really pretty already. That's the first time I've tried it since it's gone to bottle.
Looks visually really good. Tastes good. Which is a great starting point. So Bluegrass Sparkling Cabernet, first vintage was back from 2014. So we've been doing this wine for quite a while now. This will be the 10th release of this wine.
Oh, right.
So that's pretty cool. Hadn't thought about that. 100% Langhorne.
The sparkling Bluegrass.
100% Langhorne Creek Cabernet, so rich, bright, fruit-driven style of wine, lashings of colour and flavour. What I love about this wine, well, one, sparkling red, which is a damn good starting point, which is the whole reason why we started making sparkling Bluegrass.
This is the real king of Australian winemaking right here.
Yeah, it's just really lush and it's generous and it's fruit forward. It's somewhat refreshing with that sparkling style. But what I really like about this wine is it's really versatile. You can have it just by itself or you can put it with rich dishes. And the traditional Aussie way for this style of wine is Christmas, right? Because that's when it's warm and you're celebrating and all those sorts of things.
However, savory, a little bit sweet, all over the place with how good flavour just goes with everything. You know, you can't really hide behind anything. It doesn't really need to either.
No, but the other added advantage is there's 364 other days of the year where Bluegrass Sparkling Cabernet also does pretty well. So
whether that's just, you know, having it at home for dinner, you take it down to the local Chinese restaurant filled with BYO, goes well with just about everything.
Yep.
What we're doing tonight.
If you want to do, you know, Aussie barbecue or go
char siu pork.
Ooh, that sounds like a good idea. If you want to be, you know, slightly lazy and just do Peking duck pancakes or something like that, they all work really well with this style of wine. Really important tip, right? This is super important. Sparkling red wine must be served cold.
Otherwise, you'll be repainting your ceiling.
So, like all sparkling wines or a bottle of soft drink, for example, it has bubbles, carbon dioxide in the bottle under pressure. And with red wine, you've got the tannins and the anthocyanins that come from the skins of the grape.
Which give more room for things to bubble off of.
Yeah, so if you open it warm, well, just imagine grabbing a bottle of Coke and dropping it on the floor and then opening it.
It's going to let you know.
Yeah, so please
re-dye your clothes and
make sure you have this wine nice and cold. Sub 4 degrees is ideal to make sure those bubbles are restrained.
For me, I'd probably take it out of the fridge and put it in the freezer for a good 15 to half an hour before I even drank it. But seriously, keep it in the fridge first and then into the freezer. You need it that's nice and cold. It'll warm up in the glass to the temperature you want it to be at. It'll look beautiful regardless.
Yeah, the good thing about this style of wine is because it is quite highly aromatic and the carbon dioxide does carry those aromas out of the glass. Then we've got Shiraz. So
Langhorne Creek Shiraz.
Langhorne Creek Shiraz, 2023.
Yep.
Now, 2023 as a vintage was pretty long and late for Langhorne Creek, and like all vintages, they're impacted by the growing season from before. So in 2022, the end of the growing season, then into spring, winter and whatnot, down in Langhorne Creek was really quite wet, like lots of moisture hanging around the soil, especially on the floodplains. And then the start of 23 was relatively cool. So the ripening period for all of these varieties.
When we went down there, we could see from the Lake Breeze property, just that back paddock there with all the trees in it, it was completely flooded in there.
Yeah, on the floodplains, yeah. So they've got
that was during the season.
Bremer River and the other creek.
The other one.
Yeah, and the different vineyards. Maybe. The different vineyards in that area that are close to the creek, the traditional ones, a lot of them don't have irrigation as in pumped out of a dam. They flood the vineyards.
On that flood irrigation.
Yeah, so what they do is during winter is they have little weirs where they basically take the wall out and allow that water to flood the vineyard. All that moisture soaks into the ground and then that gives the water
for the rest of the season.
For the rest of the growing season.
2023, this is a beautiful wine, regardless of how wet it was that that wetness allowed us to have such a long growing season, which gives us so much development and flavour. It all developed beautifully. Like I said, we go down there usually each year to go and check out the vines and make sure everything's growing nicely, and the grapes look spotless year in, year out. The guys down there know what they're doing, and they do it really well.
Yeah, so the fruit for this wine and the rest of our bluegrass range, as always, or at least for the last few decades, sourced pretty much always from Langhorne Creek in its entirety, and most of that fruit is sourced from two different vineyards. So we've got the Follett vineyard, and the Follett family have Lake Breeze wines and their associated vineyards, and then we have the Rivers End vineyard a little bit further down the road, closer to Lake Alexandrina, and we get two different flavour profiles in that. So the Shiraz from the floodplains, which is where the Lake Breeze vineyard is, it gives quite voluptuous, rich, think traditional, warmer area Shiraz, whereas the Rivers End vineyard, which only a couple of kilometres away, but quite different soil and closer to the water, to the lake and the water, it gives more cool climate characters. So think Coonawarra-esque in inverted commas. So they tend to be a bit softer,
a bit more acid,
and
brighter colour.
Blending those two things together works really well.
Which we've done for a long time.
Generous wine, really fruit driven at the same time. It's not over the top. I don't feel like I need a knife and fork to get through this wine, which is good, but it's got all those hallmarks of Bluegrass Shiraz.
Like being pulled a little bit into that Hunter Valley sort of spectrum in terms of its weight. It's a bit more midway rather than that big.
More medium bodied.
Yeah, which makes it really pretty. You can see those like little spice nuances sitting in the back. You've had that clove, that cinnamon, that nutmeg just kind of pops at the very back.
There's still that traditional Langhorne Creek and Bluegrass stamp though, so it's still got that American oak sort of chocolate mockery character layered over that rich
fruit. It's just
fruit.
those little bits that just hiding that we don't usually see, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's yum. So for those of you who've been following Sadler's for an extended period of time, you'd know that what we nickname the matriarch of the Bluegrass range, or really the hallmark wine of what we're known for, is the straight Cabernet that was first released in the early 90s, been something we've been doing for a long, long time. Just under a decade later, we started doing straight Shiraz, and then just under another decade after that, we started doing what we nicknamed the Blend. And this is the 2023 Bluegrass, the Blend, which is the Cabernet Shiraz blend.
Far out, it's got some colour.
So uber traditional Australian and really traditional Langhorne Creek style of wine. It's approximately 60% Cabernet and 40% Shiraz. So what we get to see in this wine is the character and the nature of these two varieties. And I know we've spoken about it before, but Cabernet gives the roundness and the power to the wine. It gives that slightly herbal character. It can be very black currant and plum. It can also be quite blue fruited in cooler years, so you tend to see a little bit more of that in this wine.
It's interesting, you're really seeing that herbal character as well, like I said, that blue fruit, but that not quite eucalypty, but that mentholy character pops up a bit more in this vintage than it does in previous vintages, is that right?
Yeah, so those characters that you see in cool climate Cabernet or in Sauvignon Blanc, they have that character gets blown away in hot weather. And if we don't have that hot weather, you retain that character in the wine. Now, some vineyards and some clones will show that character more than others, but you can very much see these characters in a cooler year. So you'll get that slightly eucalypt leaf, freshly crushed tomato leaf, that character in the wine. Now, so the Cabernet, it gives the outside character to the wine, the richness.
But then you get this nice drive, this spear of bright red fruit running through the middle of the wine, that Shiraz with the raspberries, cranberry, red currant characters just pops through the middle. Yeah, so it fills that mid-palate really.
Correct, so that's exactly what the Shiraz is all about. It's about blending in that mid-palate character to give a full, complete style of wine. 2023 Bluegrass Cabernet Sauvignon, the one wine that really Sadler's Creek's reputation and history has been built on over the last 30 years. And that right there is the reason. That reaction. Now, this style of wine very much traditional Australian Cabernet and very traditional Sadler's Creek Cabernet, all from Langhorne Creek in South Australia.
I reckon that's going to be one of the better ones we've had in a couple of years, actually, Reynolds. This is our Langhorne Creek Cabernet from 2023. Like Reynolds has said with the previous wines, it was a longer ripening year and it was a bit cooler, so it is very Cabernet-esque. Those characters that make it traditionally Australian and South Australian Cabernet have really just boomed out of the glass on this one. It's got a little bit of that crushed menthol thing. It's got that big black and blue fruits character. It's really fresh. Even as a big South Australian Cabernet, it's a fresh, bright wine, but you can taste it's still got legs on it to age.
The best thing about this style of wine, and something we've been really conscious of over a long period of time, is making sure that these styles over-deliver. You know, it's quite rich. It's quite vibrant. It's got that freshness. It's got that cooling character that comes from good quality Cabernet, but it's got length and it's got depth. Now, the fruit for this is all from the Follett family vineyards. There's 2 different blocks. There's the Gumtree block, which has a gum tree in it, or next to it.
Lake Breeze Gumtree Cabernet.
There you go. And then there's also what's called the 44R block. 44 standing for, well, 44R standing for 44 rows. Very good at naming things in the wine industry. So, as like always, the fruit for these wines across the whole Bluegrass range, we pick the fruit in the cool of the evening, we crush them in South Australia, and then we bring that must up here to the hunter. Nice, long, slow skin maturation period prior to ferment. Draws out all that colour, flavour and richness. Fermented relatively cool, and then one of the key stamps to these wines is they spend their time in predominantly American oak, about 20%, give or take a little bit of new oak, and that's in there for about 18 months or so, and gives that richness, that chocolate, that bluegrass stamp. Sam was right, this is a cracking wine.
I can still, the tannin sticks around. It says to me it's got an easy 8 years in it, that wine. That looks really, really good.
Even longer. The good thing about these wines is the weight and the structure of them and the tannins and how they've been stitched together. You can drink them as a relatively youthful wine. So today, these wines are, you know, right here, right now. They're 3 years since we harvested the grapes. The big advantage, though, is if you want to, you can keep them beyond 10, 12 years if you wish.
Yes.
The best drinking window on all of these wines,
6 to 10 years, really.
Well, I was thinking the one that's overlooking a lake or something like that, where you're comfy with a glass of wine and it's when you like it. So at the end of the day, if you like your wines brighter, fresher, a bit more muscle, grab them when they're in their youth. If you want them a little bit softer and silkier, maybe pop them in the cellar for a period of time,
for sure.
And come back to them later on. But don't be afraid to open the bottle, even if you think it hasn't been long enough, because it's always better to open a bottle too early than too late.
Absolutely.
So make sure you're trying these wines. We've put a lot of effort into them. The grape growers have put a lot of effort into the grapes, and we want to make sure that you enjoy all of that in a glass of wine with family and friends. So here's the 2023 Bluegrass Sambo.
We got it done. Another year.
Cheers.
Beauty.